In this section, we will learn how to create a Mirth channel that use transformer to connect SQL Server. We will create a view in SQL Server to query the data and outputting into the report in a CSV format. Let me show you an example of a channel that I created um, earlier. So let us go ahead and deploy the channel, and you should see the report output in this directory. Click the deploy. Yes, this is the address report that we're gonna work on it. So as you can see, this is just a short report. The first line is the header of the report, and line 2 to line 11, those are the 10 row. Basically, we only want to pull the first 10 record in this view. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. And the way that we're going to set up is through a transformer, and we are going to create a view in SQL Server, and we're going to call this view address view. Okay, so before we do that, let's go back, and then we're going to re-archive this report, and we're going to start from scratch. All right, so first let us go into a SQL Server management tool so I can show you what's the data we're going to use. Okay, so basically here we're going to use table address, and these are the four fields that we're going to collect. So let's just run that, and these are the data. Okay, so instead of putting in this query in our transformer, we're going to create a view. Okay, so the syntax is create view as, create view, and then you put in the view name, and then as, and then from here basically you just cut and copy paste it here. Okay, and then how do you call a view? Basically a view is just a virtual table. So whatever the name that you create for the view, you treat this as a table, and then you just query, just you just write the regular query like how you write normally. Okay, so let's just select 10 row. Okay, so these are the data that we're going to populate in here in our transformer. Okay, you see that? Select top 10 from this view. Okay, so let us go over a little bit so we can understand what is a view and why do we use a view and what is the advantage of the view. So basically, from what I mentioned earlier, a view, what is a view? A view is nothing but a saved query, nothing more than a saved query. Okay, a view can also be considered as a virtual table. And let's ask us a question, why do we use the view? Why can't we just copy this SQL statement and paste in our code? Why? What is the benefit of a view? So the advantage of a view is that it can be used to reduce the complexity of the database schema. It also can be used as a manic mechanism to implement row and column level of security. And lastly, a view can be used to represent aggregate data and hide the detail of the data. So with all that definition, why don't we just jump into some example? So basically, you have your table, you have all your column, you have all of your data in a table. Okay, let's just say All right. These are the few that we need before, but let's just say we're gonna select the address table, and I'll show you what this look like. Okay. Select all from address table. Create that. You see the entire table have a lot of data, and you don't want to give people all the data that they don't need. Okay. So for example, let's go back. This is the query, and the most realistic benefit that a view can bring to us is that, let's say you have a third party company that your team going to purchase their software. Okay, so they're gonna come in, they're gonna set up their software in your environment, and they're gonna need, hey, can you give us a list of all the employee with ID and email address and what department they work from, for example. Okay, so instead of you grant them the table, access to the table, that means they can do anything to your table. They can delete record, they can manipulate the record, they can do anything, and they can delete the entire table too. So who knows? That is not safe. That is the security purpose why we do not grant access to anybody, uh, as far as table or even the database. Don't do that. It's not safe. Okay. So instead of that, we create a view. This is the syntax I mentioned before. Just create a view and then name your view whatever you want and put in the as, and then just copy and paste what the query, whatever you want to output the data. And so when you create a view and you grant access to particular individual, all they can see is they can query the view like this. Okay. So for that reason, for example, if the third party um, analyst, they want to query the view, all they have to do is select all from this view. Select all from, so okay, they can type select all from, and then this is the view that you're gonna grant them access. So from here, all they can do is read the data, and they cannot write the data. Okay, that's basically it. That's just the security part of the benefit why we create a view. That's the whole purpose. Okay. Another benefit when we use a view is that you can always reuse the same set of result data for other purposes. For example, if you are a view that you are creating include employee ID, email address, phone number, and the department that they work for. Okay, so all these fields. And then let's say a month from now, you're going to write another report that also need those kind of information, you know. So if you have a view, then you just call that view, and then you can join to that view. You don't have to put in the entire query in your report anymore. Okay, so a view, you can save it and you can reuse it time after time, and you can also manipulate the view. If you need, hey, I need to add another column in this view, address view. Let's say I need to add the zip code. You always can go back to the view and alter the view, add in additional column that you need. Okay, so that's enough for a little bit of understanding what is a view and what's benefit, why do we use it, and that's that's what the view for. So now let us go back to Mirth channel. We're gonna start a new channel from scratch. Okay, so give me a second. Let's us remove this, archive this, and then I will move this Mirth channel away and then drag another Mirth channel over here. Okay, so what we do is we're gonna go to the group. For this particular exercise, I'm gonna put it in the YouTube group. Okay, and I'm gonna create new group. So go to channel first, not the dashboard. The default, just minimize that. YouTube group. You either can do a new channel here, or you can right click to it and select new channel. Okay, so from here we can say, we can name our channel SQL Server View 01. Next, make sure you set your data type to XML, and the outbound is raw. Destination XML, outbound is also raw. When you're done with that, click OK. Moving along, let's just save what we have first. So save the channel, and then we're going to go to the sort. For the sort, we're going to select JavaScript reader as the connector type. And for the time scheduling, we don't want to choose cron or interval. We're going to use time. Okay, poll on start, choose yes. So every time we deploy the channel, it's gonna generate the report for us, and we want to see that. And the time, you can put in whatever time that you want. So after for example, when we deploy the channel, it's gonna generate for us first time because we select this option. And then after that, moving forward, it's gonna generate the report for us daily at 10:33 p.m. Okay, so I already have the code that I implement for the channel earlier. I'm just gonna copy and paste. This is the address report that we're going to do. Okay, now let's just save this, and then we're going to click. We're gonna work on the transformer. Click Edit Transformer. Okay, now from here, click Add New Step, and under Type, click the drop down. It's gonna take a while. Just double click, triple click. We're gonna choose JavaScript. Okay, just give it a name. So we're gonna say call address view. Okay, it's just a description. It's nothing important. Okay, now we're gonna implement the transformer. Pretty much it's just the same way that I showed you in my previous video. So instead of you put in your entire query, or you call the store procedure, in this time we're gonna call the view. Okay, so let me copy and paste the code that I have over the other channel. This is the address report. That's the name that we're gonna give, and here is the database connection string. So make sure you follow this syntax. All right, and we're gonna put down the query. So what is the query? The query is here. We're gonna select the top 10 record, and the field that we're gonna select is address, line 1, CD, state, and postal code in this view. Okay, so let me go back to SQL Server so I'll show you. All right, so you can see here, this is the same view that we're going to work with. Okay, everything is the same. See, that's the purpose of that. Next, we're going to implement the try and catch exception error. Okay, so let's copy and paste the code that we already have, make it readable, right, like that. So follow that structure there. Next, we're going to build the header for the report. So let me just copy the code that we have already and paste it over here. Okay, so now looking at the code, if for this particular report we only output 4 fields, which is address line, CD, state, and postal code. So right here, all you have to do is just follow the code syntax and you should be fine. Okay, see column 1, column 2, column 3, and column 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, if you don't build the header for the report, when you run when the report generated, it will not show you the header. All it does is just populate the data for you. Okay, so this is something it has to be done. Okay, next step, we're going to parse the result set coming back from the database query. So let's do that. Make sure all of the um, right here, when you call the query up here, see this is the column name, CD, state, postal. Those are the column name. Make sure these right here match to this. Okay, and this is just variable, so don't worry about it. You can name whatever you want, but from here you have to copy the variable and pass it down here. Okay, so make sure you bring the variable here, go down here, and the column name from here, from the top of your query, whatever your query is outputting, you have to put correct name in here, otherwise it's not going to come out. Okay, and lastly, we are going to build the report name. So basically here we are using the JavaScript date function, where we get the date in a format of year and month and day, and the output file name is another variable just for whatever report that you want Mirth to generate. That's what it's called, file. Okay, so basically the files will generate as a CSV file. Here, CSV file, and the report gonna be named address report underscore concatenate with the date string, which we use from the JavaScript function here. And but lastly, this is just the outputting name that we're gonna call it this value. Copy. We're gonna call it in the destination. Okay. So far, just be careful to review your code, and then before we return back to the main menu, you need to validate the transformer. Make sure you validate the step as well, and we're gonna save the channel, so we don't want to lose anything, right? Next step, we go into the destination. So as far for the destination, here you can put in whatever the destination name that you want. Destination 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can put whatever it is that is, is help you to remember where's the report gonna output at. Okay, so let's see if you are outputting this destination for your pharmacy department. Just type in pharmacy department, and so just keep in mind so you know where the data is going. As far as the connector type, we go into choose the JavaScript writer. No, I'm sorry, not the JavaScript writer. I get confused with the other one. The file writer. For queue message, choose always. The directory we're gonna use, the same one which we always use for our Mirth YouTube tutorial, is this location, which is right here. Okay, and the file name, this is what we call from our transformer. Okay, and we want to overwrite this. So let's say if you want to change the file name, so you go back to the transformer. Okay, okay, hold on, let me put encoded data first, save so we don't make any mistake. Let's say if you want to change the file name, you don't change it here. Okay, make sure you go back to the summary, not the summary, the sort, transformer, scroll all the way down. You want to change it from here. Okay, so this is where you name your report because this is what you're calling. Okay, you want to change the report name, change it in here. All right, so go back to where we at before. This is the location where we're going to output in the report. The report name is already there. Override, make sure you have override. Basically the override selection is that so the first time you output the report, right, it's had, let's say it had 10 row. The second time you output the report again, it had another 10 row. So if you don't override it, let's say if you override that means it's going to override whatever the previous data have in the report. It's going to wipe it out and going to override over the file. But if you put up appended, that means, let's say, okay, first time the report going to generate 10 record. The second time is another 10 record. That means total 20. And then the third time another 10 record. That's a total of 30. And it's just gonna build up and build up and build up. Okay, so for me, I don't want that. So I want to override the report. And okay, let's save that. All right. So now go back to the summary, double check everything, make sure the sort is correct. Summary, make sure right here enable, you have to check enable in order to deploy the channel. Okay, for the sort, check the transformer, everything looking good. All right, so let's us ready to deploy the channel. Okay, so we ready, deploy. See that? So let's open up the report. There you go. See, these are the header what we had, and these are the 10 records that we are pulling. Okay, that's what it look like. All right, let's go back to the channel right here. So let's just go briefly back to the edit transformer. Again, this is how we write a report using transformer to query the SQL Server view. Okay, so I already explained the view, you know what it is. Pretty much it's just a virtual table, and this is the query of the .code. Okay, so this is it for this lesson. If you find it's helpful, please give it a thumb up, like, share. Until then, I'll see you next time.